Assalamu alaikum, and welcome to another episode of the Habibis, three game developers drinking good Arab tea. I am your host for this week, Osama Dorius.
And I'm Rami Ismail.
And I am Fawzi Mesmar.
Have
Wow.
you? Okay, I'm the host. I speak first. Ya Rami.
Those are the rules.
Wow. You already spoke first. I don't know. Like, do you want to play it back for you?
I'm kidding. Okay, how you been, Rami? What did you want to say?
Alhamdulillah. I was just like, wow, that went entirely smooth.
I know, and then it didn't.
Yeah. Well, that's how it goes, right? Whenever something goes right for us, then we have to point it out, and then
Yes.
that messes it up.
It's
So we just
perfect.
nailed it.
Osama
nailed
is a
it.
Smackdown as the host.
You know, one thing I've realized over the what is it, almost 2 years of editing this show now, is that we don't actually have to play the intro for ourselves. Like, we could just start, but it just feels better with the music. I don't know.
it
like, I
hypes
just-
me up, man. No,
yeah,
I
right.
want
Yeah,
It's
it
good.
does.
It's such good intro music. Malik Subaila, such good intro music.
Yeah, we've done it a few times without the music when it was just me and Fauzi
It's just
recording. It's not the same.
nah.
It's not the
Need
same.
the music. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. I'm just happy that we all agree on that, because God, I would, it takes a minute off of the recording, but it makes for
Yeah.
much better recordings.
I have such a connection to that song now. It's
Mhm.
incredible.
Yeah, makes me happy every time.
Both the intro and the outro. And the Suhoor Bites one.
Oh, this
When
reminds-
is
I can't-
Ramadan
I can-
again?
Soon it's coming
It's
up.
like end of March this year.
yeah,
No.
yeah. We're like what?
It's been a year already. I feel like
Every
Ramadan is
time.
the constant
listen,
reminder
man.
that I'm aging very quickly.
Every year it always comes too fast.
I just realized that GDC is going to be during Ramadan this year.
Yeah,
The beginning of Ramadan. That's going to be interesting.
Yikes!
Yeah. That's going to be
I'm
interesting.
sure GDC will have great they'll have great things to make sure that it doesn't get into. It's actually the first 2 days of Ramadan are during the Game Developers Conference.
Perfect timing.
I'm sure they'll have iftar and
I'm sure.
I'm sure they'll take care of that.
I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on the board.
I'm both excited and scared
Right.
of the game developers
Osama,
conference.
though, this is a reason for me to go to GDC. Then let's do some GDC Ramadan stuff.
Let's do it. I'm excited.
Let's get everybody together.
We'll do an iftar, a proper one.
Yeah, like proper one.
Yes.
That's
I'm in.
okay. Maybe I'll go to GDC after.
Yes.
Okay.
Fauzi, you got to come too.
I would love to. Yeah,
All right.
I'm very concerned about GDC. First of all, there's going to be jet lag every time
Yes.
now when I'm flying from Europe to GDC. It's I just wake up at 3 a.m. and I feel like lunch. I'm
Yeah.
it's 3 a.m. I want a steak.
Well, luckily it's San Francisco. For like $45, you can get the steak.
Yeah, $45. You can buy 3 sheep for that price.
Yeah, no. I was not going to go. Actually, my plan was not to go. I actually had two options. One, I don't go. Two, I do go, but instead of going to GDC, I invite my friends to come fly with me, and I just rent an airplane for 3 days, and I just go and take people on trips over San Francisco and the Golden Gate Bridge.
I'm
So
in.
you could totally do that.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
I'm in.
on board.
Can I fly again?
Yeah, although
promise
I'm
to
not
be on
gonna
my
let you
best-
dive. I'm going to be in control of that airplane, Osama.
Hey, I'm an experienced flyer now. I can do
Diver.
better than the last time. That's how it works, right?
I don't know, Osama. Like I'm just gonna go ahead and say 2 Arabs in an airplane diving near San Francisco. We're not gonna do that. We're not gonna
We're
do
not.
that. I'm gonna be in control of the airplane.
We're not gonna do it. We could get a slightly bigger airplane and bring Fauzi along.
Oh, Fauzi would fit.
Like-
Fauzi would totally fit in the
I
Cessna.
don't know what you're trying to say. This is like the first time you even insinuate that I'm on a more than medium-sized person.
I think Fauzi will literally not change the full weight of the airplane. Like he can go in the back.
Are we gonna do like the matching Habibi dish dasher? Is that?
Okay, we gotta
we
find a
finished.
way to commission that, but I'm in. I
I
can't
like that-
sew. I'm sorry.
What we can do is that there's like the matching Habibi dish dasher, but all like with like pilot glasses.
Aviator glasses, yes.
Aviator like
We are
glasses,
never
so like
getting
we look
this
like
airplane.
Yeah, but you have to get the distasha in a color that matches one of my hats. That's my only condition.
Well, no, you should get a hat that matches the Habibis.
Yeah, but
yeah.
okay, if you give me enough time,
Right.
I'll do that.
No,
Well,
but
we
shit, we go to the airplane, man, and we'd be like, "Salam, brother. The three of
Salam,
us would like
brother.
to rent a plane."
This is Fauzi. I'm Rami. This is Osama. There's no way this is gonna go wrong.
We promise not to dive.
Yeah.
I
As you
love
get the
this.
keys, you just go Bismillah Rahman Rahim. See what
So like,
happens.
no.
Yeah. No. Okay. How about we just don't do those things? Because
No,
I
none
would
of
like to
those
have the
things.
airplane.
None of those things.
We'll tuck
Is
our
it-
distashes in our pants and take them out after we get the keys.
you
As
know
as
how uncomfortable that is?
I know.
Every time I've done that, and I've done that. I've done that
Yes.
many times. Like you're waking up, you're comfortable, you're wearing comfortable clothes. You decide you have to hop outside to get some groceries. You're like, I'm not going to switch all the way out. Just
I'm
jacket,
just good.
jeans, just tuck them in. And it's just like this is the most. Why did I do this?
Why
I
did I
not?
do this?
Why
Just
didn't I
take it
take the
off.
2.5 seconds to just like put on a t-shirt?
I've done it maybe once, but that was enough for me to be like, never again.
I've done it pretty frequently. I'll admit. Because
Okay, we need a
at
picture
home,
of this.
I just wear a jalabia. Just
Yeah, of course.
like it's just
So
it's chill.
comfortable.
I have a
Then
lot
when
of
I have
funny memory from school when like somebody kind of forgets that they're wearing this when somebody passes a ball to them. Like the
yeah,
kids are playing football in recess, and the dude just totally forgot that they're wearing this, and they tried to kick the ball really hard, and they end up like falling on their
Yes.
back.
yeah.
You have to lift it to be able to play
Yeah.
You
soccer.
have to
You see
lift
it
it.
all the
It's not.
time. Yeah.
Just
Yeah, it's not
with your
that wide.
teeth. You got to do it with your teeth. It's the only
Yeah,
way.
hold it with your
The
teeth
only
when you
way,
get
yeah.
running.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I
No,
love it.
that's good stuff. Yeah. No. So those are my two plans for GDC. Either I don't go, or I go to fly airplanes.
Come and let's fly airplanes. It sounded like a lot more fun
Yeah, it
to me.
sounds.
Yeah.
So
And plus, if it's Ramadan, like I would like to spend some Ramadan
Yeah.
days with you, Osama.
So
Yeah.
I'm
And
actually
if you're
talking as
there,
if I'm going to GDC. I haven't booked anything yet. I'm planning to go. I have a talk approved, and I haven't booked anything yet because I'm waiting
Yeah.
for some, like like some, what do you call it? Red tape, I guess,
right?
from work
Yeah.
to be able to finalize everything.
Mm-hmm,
So I'm like 95% confirmed, not
okay.
100, but
Yeah.
close
If
enough.
you do, let me know, and I'll start booking my stuff. And Fauzi, you are you going, or are you not sure yet?
Yeah. So I should be even like speaking on a couple of panels, but I'm waiting
Nice.
for my visa to be complete.
Oh
So
yeah,
hopefully,
yeah.
fingers
Well,
crossed for that.
the Arab
Inshallah.
experience, it'll take some time, but inshallah everything will
This
work out.
podcast, I was talking about the planes. I'm sure it will really help.
Yeah, this really helps. Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe Frank's not back from his vacation, right?
Yeah.
Frank is never on vacation.
Frank
Oh,
is
no.
always listening.
Yeah. Awesome. So, other than this beautiful catch up, actually, I didn't do my part of the catch up
Right.
really quickly.
We didn't do a catch up. We talked about
I'm
GDC for 12 seconds.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, catch up. Osama, go.
Yes, I'm commissioning art for my board game side project.
Oh, amazing.
Yes. So I started. It's going to be
Ooh.
a slow process because I'm working on it. Being very mindful of my previous burnout. I'm not pushing too much, and I'm just doing it like an
Mhm.
hour a day max. So it's going to be slow, but it's fun so far, and I'm at the point where I can commission art, which is going to make it feel real. I don't know if you've like gotten to this point for any of these side projects before that are not video games, but like it to me, board games and card games that I've worked on before don't feel real until I commission art. They just
Yeah.
feel like I'm it's a prototype.
Yeah.
Then when you
no, I
commission
hear
the
you.
first piece of art, it's real all of a sudden. I don't know.
Mhm,
That's just
mhm.
so I'm super excited about that. Yeah, that was my catch up. What about you two? Anything else to add?
I mean,
yeah, go
Fauzi,
ahead,
you go
Ron.
first. You go first.
I don't have much actually. I've been playing a bunch of video games.
What have you been playing?
So
Let's jump in.
you want to jump into that? Cool. I think like the one I want to talk about the most is I played The Curse of the Golden Idol. After we
Yes.
spoke about it on the podcast last week, I was like, I like Obra Dinn. I
Yep.
like it when Rami is excited about things.
Yes.
I was like, He talked up the game quite well, and he said like this does Oberdin maybe better than Oberdin. I was like, well, I need to give this a look then, because
Yes.
I'm a big fan of the game.
Yes. I did the same.
Uh,
I also played The Curse of the Golden Idol. I finished it
cool.
actually
Oh, you finished it, huh?
in practically one sitting. Like I took a long break in between, but
Yeah,
it was almost one sitting. I couldn't stop. When I started playing it, I couldn't stop. It was so
yeah.
good.
I had the one setting, and it was one sitting, and it was 3 hours. So
Yes.
first time I booted the game, I was there for 3 hours.
Yes. Do you want to know how long it took me to beat the game, or do you want that to be a surprise?
Oh no, I don't mind if you tell me.
So it took me about 6 hours to beat it. So
Oh,
you're I
okay.
would guess halfway through.
So really, you and I have the similar gaming patterns. It sounds.
Yeah, it's exactly right. I played for
Yeah,
3 hours, then it came back and did it again for 3 hours after, which was
yeah.
perfect. It was perfect.
All right. So I'm gonna try to describe this game
I'm
before
very curious about this.
we
Yes.
dive into talking about how we felt about it, because
Yes.
yeah, I'm getting the feeling that we both like it, but
Yes.
not to get too ahead of myself. So first things first, we need to get this out the window. When Rami said that the game doesn't look nice or like it's not a looker, he was not off. you know,
I was
you
really
know,
waiting where that was going. I was like, oh
Yes, I was
boy.
like, is he completely wrong? What?
Yeah, I'm just like,
no, he is completely right. I mean,
Yes.
like, eye of the beholder and all of that, but
Yeah.
oof, you know,
Yes.
uh, it's not the game's biggest selling point. Though I
No.
do have to say that it does have a style of its own. Like, you can show
Yes.
me any screenshot of this game, and I'll be like, that looks like Golden Idol art, if I ever seen any.
Yes.
So it somehow manages to get. So it gets its own art style for
Yes.
sure, and it does the job of capturing that this person has these exaggerated features. So when you see them later in the game,
Yeah.
you recognize them, which is very important because like a lot of the game is figuring out who those people are, and then when they later show up, that really helps you to build that prior knowledge. Uh,
Hmm.
but also, like I digressed.
I
What the
would
game
describe
is,
the art as
yeah.
the artist was pretty good at pixel art, but pretty bad at drawing.
Not
I-
bad. I like that.
yes,
I like
but I
that.
like you're right. It has a style its own. It has a limited color palette, and it feels like the art fits the game.
Yeah, it's
good.
recognizable for sure. It
Mhm.
fits for what is supposed to be done. It's not as stylistic or like striking or memorable as Obra Dinn,
No.
um, but it is still like recognizable and distinguished for what it is.
Hmm.
The gameplay of this game is that you are presented the scene, and that scene usually involves it's kind of like a snapshot of an action sequence, like somebody like like characters in motion captured in like the single frame, and in that single frame you can inspect those characters, you can inspect what they're carrying, you can hear what they're saying, and you can check out multiple areas in the environment, and then you have to piece together who those people are and what's going on. Um, and the game starts out. This is not a spoiler. It's literally the first scene. Like to illustrate an example, it starts out with one person pushing another person off the cliff,
Mhm.
and it's just that. It's just that scene. There's one person falling off the cliff, the other person pushing them. They're saying something to themselves, and you can look inside their pockets and see what they're both carrying, and you
Hmm.
can look around them, and then from that information that you're looking, you can kind of deduce
Hmm.
what's going on. Once you get an idea about what's going on, you use that knowledge to fill in the blanks in an interface with words. So you collect words and you use these words to fill in the blanks, and that blanks will tell the story of what happens. Once you do that, mission is complete, or that level is complete, and you unlock another level. And as the story progresses, as you play more levels, the levels actually reference the events that and the people that you have seen in previous sections. So, like the person that's pushing the other person, you may or may not later see them, and in a different point in time. doing something else entirely, and it helps you build up, how that moment came to be. That is really strong narrative
Yes.
mechanism that I've Oberdin in some way, but also not. Oberdin, you traveled back in time almost through some objects to see what happened in that sequence, and then use that prior knowledge to fill in what's going on right now. Whereas that these are not chronological per se, which I think is very interesting. It's impossible not to feel clever after you complete one of these.
Right?
Yeah,
Yes. Yes, they
Ev-
nailed that.
it's
Absolutely.
like, you collect those elements, you put the things together, and be like, oh my god, I'm like the world's best detective. I should I should quit my job and go to the local
Yes.
police
Yes.
station and apply
Yes.
for detective first class because that's what my skill level is at right now.
Yeah, yeah.
it does
Yeah.
that. It does that splendidly.
It really does, and I'll add, and I'll keep this as ambiguous as possible since you haven't finished the game.
Mm.
I'll add that it starts some narrative threads that are not part of that necessarily that same sequence. That is a mystery and gives you just enough clues that if you pay attention, you could solve it in advance, and you feel so good when you guess right.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah,
like separate to the puzzle. That's just like a narrative thing, where a couple of times I'm like, wait, that doesn't make sense. That, and I figured it out. And then in the situations where I was right, I felt even more like as ace detective.
Yeah. Yeah, they did
that's
such a good job with all that.
Yeah.
such an amazing job. There are some levels in which, like they resemble to me some old school like riddles that you would find in magazines, in which like there's, five people or six people on a dining room table, and you need to guess which person belongs to which living room or bedroom or something like that.
Yes. Yes.
And you need to like, have your prior knowledge. You need to have observation skills. You need to see what they like, what they're wearing, what they're eating,
Hmm.
and piece all of that together, plus like information you hear from characters talking to each other as well. Get
Hmm.
all of that together and piece that information, so kind of almost you're creating like a character profile
Yeah.
about these like heavily pixelated characters.
And you're learning about their motivations through all different
Yeah,
clues left and right, and a lot of parts are left ambiguous on purpose, but you have just enough information to figure it out. It's masterfully done. Like
yeah,
honestly, it's not just, hey, this is a small indie team that liked Oberdin and tried to recreate something similar. It's not that at all. They really innovated in some ways and really did a good job. Like it feels polished as a detective game. Like it really did.
yeah. There's
Maybe
like
not visually, but otherwise
I'm
polished.
gonna also like try to keep it ambiguous so that people don't get spoiled. But like, there's this character at some point that you deduce that, is a bum. Like is the kind of person that's just like good for nothing, doesn't can't hold a job and keeps on wasting the money. And I think in one of the missions, you look inside their pockets and they have a lot of coins, and you be like, "What's going on here?" you know
Yep, yep,
and
yep.
like that kind of like gives you a clue to how you want to address this particular situation.
Yeah.
Very,
Yes.
very clever. I like
It's
that,
Very
so
well
well
like
done.
they
done.
create like the character personas, or what they're likely to do, and then utilize that in the puzzle solving. That's very smart design, in my opinion.
It is. It really is. I
uh,
I'm looking forward to see what else the studio comes up with because
Hmm.
I think Lucas Pope is not going to make another Oberdin. That's not his style. He just makes something completely different. But I just realized how much I love this genre. Like these two games right now formed a new genre to me in my head, and I
yeah,
want more games of this genre with different stories, with different approaches, maybe different mechanics. But I love this genre, and I would love to play more games. So I'm hoping
yeah.
one of the opportunistic indie studios picks up on that and carries it home.
Yeah, I've been toying a lot with the game idea in my mind for a while. That is around murder mystery, because I love this stuff. I love like solving mysteries, and it's about like a non like a player knowledge accumulation style of mechanics similar to Obridden.
Hmm.
So for me, it was like really interesting and inspiring for my own idea that's cooking, to
Hmm.
see what those peeps have been building. So
You played. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
no problem. Go ahead.
I was gonna say you played a bit of Gotham Knights. I actually designed the CSI mystery sequences
Oh,
in
you
that
did,
game.
huh?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
like
yeah.
that a lot. Also,
Why?
like it's
Thank
one of
you.
the reasons why I wanted to play that game is because of the
Oh, thank you.
detective parts.
Yeah, that was. Well, I mean, me with a team, but the actual
Obviously.
mysteries themselves, I designed them. So I'm super proud of that.
So they're super cool, man. I like
Thank
them a
you.
lot.
I
Starting the
appreciate it.
first one with the microwave, I was like, "Ah, that's
Yes,
pretty
yes,
clever."
that was me. That was me. Thank you.
That's super cool, man. Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to playing more games like this. I like murder mysteries are so cool, and when
Yep.
they like, I feel like we're starting to see a lot of innovation on that in games recently. Starting with like Hitman 3.
Yes.
Hitman 3 had the second level was such like one of the best murder mystery games I played. I feel in that in that second level, and now this one is not that far off.
Hmm.
Actually, so before I jump in, thank you very much for the recommendation, Robbie. That was super
Come
cool.
on.
Yeah.
No, I
Thank
mean,
you. That was
I
great.
was loving the game. I was honestly, um, I was happy that I could give the recommendation because I thought you two would have played it. But
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
I
this
haven't.
is really
skip no
cool
further.
to get to give two of my best friends one of the best games of the year.
Aw.
That made me very happy.
And I'm happy that it made my list, even though I mean our list, even though I didn't play it.
It would have anyway, I think, if we have
Yes.
played it. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, definitely.
And I was talking about Hitman 3, the second level, which is heavily inspired by Knives Out, which kind of like
Mhm.
brings me to the other topic I wanted to talk about.
Ooh.
This
Ooh.
is an onion segue.
You know,
Glass onion, some might say. Yes,
the
I
amount of
watched the
times this
movie.
podcast makes me want to just play the outro music. Oh, you watched it. I watched it
I
too.
watched a new
I
movie
watched it
called
three.
Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery.
I did the same.
All three of you have watched it. All right, so I'm going to
Yeah,
shut up for a second.
go Rami. You're up.
I, I couldn't mute myself one time.
Yeah, I heard that. I was like, did you want it to shut up because you wanted to shut up, or did you want to shut up because you needed to sneeze? Like I don't
A bit of both.
a bit
Save me.
of. Well, I mean, I liked it. I liked it. I think it would have been tough to beat Knives Out,
Yes,
and I like that it didn't try. It was just very comfortable being exactly what it is, and that was it. That was what it did, and it did that really really well. I feel
I agree.
so.
Actually, because they're both mystery type
Hmm. Hmm.
whodunits with a detective who shows up and tries to solve usually a murder. I think in both cases, in this case, eventually was a murder. And the what was great about them both is that they had surprise. Both had surprise, but the surprise is more potent when you don't see it coming, and I think that's why Knives Out has an edge. It was the first movie, and so you didn't know I didn't know, at least I'm speaking for myself. I didn't know what to expect, and so I was more surprised because it was a first experience. And I think that Glass Onion was the best it could be because it
Right.
really captured the joy and it was funny and the same style as Knives Out, but I don't think it could have easily surpassed the first
Right.
one simply of
Right.
that.
Mm.
And that just happens in media in general. Even if the second one is better crafted than the first, those feelings that the first one gave us are hard to shake off, hard to
Yeah.
ignore. Like
Yeah.
when you play the first Assassin's Creed, it's hard to argue that it's better than the second Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed 2 is a better crafted game, but you don't get the same exhilaration when jumping off a tower in Assassin's Creed 2 as you did in 1 because it was just the first time you've ever done that. And I think it's
Mm.
Fair.
similar in this
Fair.
case.
That's very
I,
fair.
I feel like the structure and the story of the first Knives Out movie was a lot more. Uh, it was a lot tighter.
Yeah.
Um, I think like the the first one like avoided. avoided some cliches and embraced some. Like, I think the first one embraced the cliches of what a murder mystery Agatha Christie style movie should kind of be like, and it
Yeah.
embraced that, and like it represented it really, really well. Uh, but it did not present cliches in how the murder solution came to be.
Right.
It was
Right.
totally like a last revelation kind of thing, but you could not have seen it coming, no
Mm-hmm.
matter
Mm-hmm.
how hard you try. Um, I found in like in Glass Onion, there were some things, some twists, and I don't want to spoil it to anybody, that I did not like, because I feel like, oh no, they actually did that. Oh yeah, they did.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
That part I did not kind of enjoy, but what I did like is that I loved Edward Norton's character,
Yeah.
and I loved, like, like it's I love the satire take on what the 1% are like, like what, like an Elon Musk
Yeah.
type
Hmm.
personality that just like highly opinionated, but just says a lot of hubris and uh, nonsense,
Hmm.
and states them as like like compassionate facts.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I just love that satire a lot, and I think that's the thing that really made the movie. Like how those personalities are represented in a state of fiction.
Yeah. I fully agree. I will add, like the the um, the premise of the whole thing is really clever, right? It's fun and it's simple and it's kind of preposterous, and I felt the central mystery and the twists were really well done. I like that they gave us a bit more time with the characters before things started happening,
Yeah.
which was really nice. Like I actually really like that. The movie sort of has like a midway like hinge, right?
Hmm.
Um, I did
Like
I
something bad is gonna happen, but you don't know when.
Right, and it was interesting because it was kind of like it fits very well with the sort of whodunit, right? Like instead of like what happened, we're spending some time getting to know who might have done it, and we start to see a little bit of why they might do it, but nothing has happened yet. And there was a really fun tension in that I really enjoyed. Like besides just like the usual who did it, I also spent a bunch of time watching that movie with some friends, going, "Who'll kick the bucket?"
Hmm.
Yeah.
Right? Because even that was unclear in the movie, and I just kind of love that. I will say I was not a big fan of the ending. I was a big
Mm-hmm.
fan of the case coming back together.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Not a big fan of the ending.
Yeah.
Felt a little. It didn't feel smart. It didn't feel satisfying either. It just felt like the ultimate conclusion is satisfying, but the sort of like middle conclusion is kind of not. It's like
I
it's
could I could see why you would feel that way. Absolutely.
Yeah.
yeah.
Same.
I mean, there is a version of events that happens that is very probable with the events that happened, where Benoit Blanc ends up in jail himself, and I'm just not. I just like I don't think that character would do that, right?
Mhm.
But I'd agree. I had just such a good time. It's a good movie.
Yeah, that
Uh,
was really, it was joyful to me. Gave me a lot of joy. There were a lot of parts to it where I was kind of like, but like it's still. I think the weight of the first movie was gonna hold it down. It needed to do something big and extravagant,
Yeah,
or it felt like it needed to. Maybe it didn't. Maybe that was a mistake,
it
but
was
it felt like it needed to, and I think that's what held it back.
right.
Otherwise, I still recommend it. It was a
Same.
star-studded cast. The personalities that are displayed by all the different characters were a lot of fun, and the interactions together were a lot of fun. There were tons of cameos. That was a lot of fun. Like a
yeah.
lot of things like that. Like it
Yep.
was just a pleasure to watch.
Yep. For sure.
I feel like it started the franchise now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the first one started the franchise really, but this one said like, no, no, there's gonna be more of this because people like
I
this,
I
Yeah.
will
and
watch
they're
more
right.
Benoit Blanc every day. Like I just bring it every year, a new one. I'm good.
So
I'm down for
what's going to
that.
be the title of the next one? What do you think? Is it going to also be a Knives Out story, or is it going to be a Glass Onion story?
No, it's going to be a knives. It's going to be a Knives Out story. But I
Oh,
heard,
Yeah,
I heard Johnson really hates that subtitle,
yeah,
so I
yeah,
hope they get rid of it. But
yeah. That came from a
yeah.
marketing person somewhere for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, exactly. And it makes sense that, like, if not, I had never realized that Glass Onion is a follow up
Yeah,
because
I
I
was
didn't
expecting
realize that would
Knives
be a
In to
follow
be
up.
the title of
Oh
the
my
next
god!
movie. Right? That
Oh
makes
my
a
god!
lot more sense.
Speaking of watching things,
Yes.
I watched the first episode of the Nier Automata anime.
Oh, how was it?
Ooh.
You know what? I think they're here's the thing. I think they're picking up an impossible challenge, right? Like Nier Automata is one of those stories that you can. It's a video game. It's a video game story. I don't think there's a way to tell that story properly in another medium, right? Because a large part of Nier story is sort of like built on this notion that you play the same story, multiple perspectives, but it's also not the same story. It's like 5 iterations of the same story, as it could have happened. Like, if people could travel back in time and make different choices or something, right? Nier's story is non-linear, but it also doesn't really have a canon. There's not like the story of Nier Automata. Um, and somehow they needed to adapt that for television. And so far, episode 1 is just episode 1. It covers the intro of the game up until the installation screen. Um, and it covers it very it's very dutiful cover. It's kind of weird because they have this really beautiful, very smooth animation for large parts of it, and then they have a bunch of 3D stuff that really looks like PlayStation 1 FMVs, maybe PlayStation 2 FMVs if we're being very
Wow.
generous. But they mix and match those pretty well. So I'm just like, huh? What? Huh? What? It's very pretty and not.
I can't
Uh,
imagine that. I have to see it.
yeah. I mean, the music is there, which, like the music of Nier Automata is phenomenal.
Mm.
Um, but they're basically, so far what I've seen is they're picking. I think they're trying to reconcile. For those who played it, I think they're trying to reconcile storyline A and B into one storyline as sort of like the main storyline, and then putting C as a linear progression of it. Which, if you've played Nier, that'll make total sense. If you haven't played Nier, it won't make sense at all. Um, but it's kind of fascinating to see them try. So it's pretty. I really like this first episode. I'm curious whether they're going to do it, and if they're going to do it, where they're going to deviate from the way the story can only be told in games. Because if they're going to try and do it like in the games, it's not gonna make sense.
One of the things I like the most about Nier is the soundtrack.
That's there.
The- yeah, you recognized it.
It is the same soundtrack.
Oh,
It,
okay.
like,
Wow.
literally, the opening sequence has the same music. The choirs. It's the
Mm,
music from the game. Um, Even if just for that,
that's
100% worth
super,
recommending
actually.
it. Yeah, it's great. It's so good. And like all the sort of like iconic scenes are there. The scene at the start of 2B crashing through the wall with their flight unit. With like the 55 computer voices explaining that all the subsystems has been transferred to her. Like, that's still there. But then, for example, that first boss fight in Nier Automata, where you fight the giant like construction machine. Yeah, that's now like 4 seconds. She just literally tells the pod to like overcharge and then fire. And the pod just makes a joke that now it can't do that again for like 13 and a half hours, which is approximately, like the majority of the story for now. So, um, yeah, a funny, like, those are kind of like funny things, funny changes, but it's good. I like it.
Do you know how many episodes is it, Rami?
I think it's 24,
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's not
and they
too
seem to
bad.
be about 30-35 minutes.
Okay, yeah, standard anime stuff.
Yeah.
I might give it a go.
I would recommend it. I can't tell you whether it's going to stay good. I normally never watch TV series as they're going,
Mhm.
Yeah.
but yeah, it's near. Like, just the chance of listening to that music again was good enough for me.
I just
I'm gonna
added it
check
to
that
my
out.
list. I can't promise if I'm going to watch it, far or near to this timeline, but I will watch it eventually.
Okay. Like, yeah, I mean, maybe 12 episodes in, I'll give you an update.
Looking forward to it. Um,
Do you
okay,
have time
so
for one more thing, or we're switching gears?
I think we can do your thing. Go for it.
So I watched another thing on Netflix. It's called Pepsi. Where's my jet?
Pepsi, where's my jet?
I thought it's very funny. It's a
Oh,
documentary
is
series.
this story about the bottle cap guy?
Yeah, so exactly. So I
Ah.
think in the 80s, in the 90s, Pepsi earned a bunch of commercials to kind of encourage people to win stuff through a point system. And
Yes.
like in one of those commercials, they were like, if you collect this many commercials, you get a T-shirt or sunglasses. But if you get 7 million points, you can win a Harrier jet. And here's the thing: when they put on the video advertisement on TV, when they put the picture of the Harrier jet and the kid winning the Harrier jet, they did not put the fine print on that scene, saying like,
Oh,
"Hey, this is a joke." And the
wow.
documentary follows the journey of the at back then a 21-year-old in 1996 who figured out a way to get 7 million points and started demanding Pepsi to give him his jet.
Wow.
Because yeah,
Uh,
you could get the so I heard this story many years ago,
Hmm.
yeah,
but it was something like the jet is like 70 million or something, but
yeah,
you could buy the caps for like 10 cents per point or something.
something like that.
So he
Yeah,
got somebody to lend him like
seven hundred
yeah,
thousand dollars, I
Because
think.
that's a great return on investment.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
like a 10x plus or something.
he found an investor
Wow.
basically to fund his trip against Pepsi. Not even that. At some point, like Michael Evanetti, which is like a really well-known lawyer, like he was the lawyer that represented Stormy Daniel against Donald Trump.
Oh, wow.
So like he's like a high-profile lawyer. At the time, he wasn't, but this was one of his first high-profile cases in which he was like representing him against Pepsi. But yeah, there's a lot of like I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't watched it or like people who haven't heard the story as it unfolded in the 90s. But it was cool to to watch just like a four episode documentary
So
about
Amazing.
that.
I'll add one thing. I don't know if there are a lot of Simpsons fans watching
I
or
am.
listening, but there is an episode of The Simpsons that spoofed this story called Bart
Ah.
Gets an Elephant, where Bart Bart calls it wins a radio like show type call in contest, and they has a prize that was either $10,000 or an African elephant, and the African elephant part is a joke, but Bart insists on the elephant until they finally have to send him an elephant.
Oh,
It's a
that's so
hilarious
funny.
show, and
Oh,
at the
that's the
time
same thing then.
yeah,
And
at the time I did not know that this was a spoof of a thing that happened in real life, but the timing is too perfect.
right, I
That's hysterical.
Yeah.
all I remember from the because obviously this is somewhat aviation related, so it's kind of a known story.
Yeah.
But I think part of the final ruling, and I'm not going to talk about whether it was ahead or against, but there were arguments in favor and against, and one of the arguments against was sort of like the the kid had said that it would be better than taking the bus to school.
He's not wrong there.
It's just like, I, I just like this kid. Just
Well,
like
technically he's right.
yeah,
It's faster at least. I
yeah,
don't know if it's better.
yeah. Anyway,
Awesome.
yeah,
Okay.
I need to watch that. I had no idea that somebody made a documentary about that. That's
It's fun.
amazing.
Check it out. It's on
Yeah, we'll
Netflix.
do. We'll do.
It is on my list. I'm super excited to get to it at some point. Um, and thank you for that recommendation. And now it's time for a segment that we haven't had in a while. And as a result of not having it in a while, we have a little bit of a backlog to get to. I don't think we can get to all of it today, but at least we'll chip away at it. It is the email, my favorite, the email segment.
Yes, we're
So
back.
we are back. So I'll say let's start with at least two, and if we'll see how much time we have because we have about 5 minutes to wrap this up. So we'll start with the first two. The first one is super quick. The first one is from listener Tamir, who says it's not a question, it is a statement. He says, "Happy New Year! It's so good to hear the three of you again. You're my favorite podcast, always making me laugh."
Oh,
Aww,
Happy New
it's
Year.
good to be back. We'll be back more frequently this
we
year.
will
Mm-hmm.
be. And
Mm-hmm.
Happy New Year to you too, Tamir, and to everyone else who's listening. So that was one. That was a good one
That
to
went pretty
start.
fast.
Yeah.
That was fairly straightforward. If we can keep
Yes.
it at that tempo.
We'll see. We'll see how many we can get through.
Okay.
The second one is by Nicholas, although I suspect he might pronounce it as Nicolas, because I believe he might be French. He says, "Hello, the Habibis. I have a question mostly for Rami. Do you know of any aged people working as indie game dev? I feel video games are still a youngster thing. I'm curious if some are developed by retired people or even above 50-ish on their own. Thanks a lot for all the things that the three of you are doing." Aw, thank you, Nicola. So,
Yeah,
Rami, you want to, like, he called you out. So, do you want to start?
yeah. No, I mean, yeah. There's absolutely people that are older doing indie games, and I can. There's definitely a few that are 50 plus. It is rare, obviously. Independent game development is. A lot of people like to think that indie game development is less risky than AAA development, but by all means and purposes, it is more risky because you're an entrepreneur, right? You need to make sure the money comes in and that the money keeps coming, and we have to make frequently relatively careful or conservative choices in how we make games and how we approach it. So it's not quite the dream everybody always believes, and it becomes a harder dream as you go through life. But I even in my consultancy, I have people that come in and they're like, about to retire or soon retiring, and they had a dream to make indie games back in the 80s or 90s, and they never followed up on that dream, and now they're just looking at Unity and Unreal and or Game Maker or Godot or Pico 8, and they're just like, I'm going to do it anyway.
Mhm.
So it is possible, but it is increasingly risky until retirement, and at retirement it might be too stressful for a lot of people. So it is rare. It is, but that doesn't mean it's not possible. And if you are somebody like that and you want to get started, or you have questions, feel free to reach out to me for any of the consultancies that I offer. Happy to talk to you.
The one thing I'll add to that, if I may, is I do know a big segment of people who retired from making video games at bigger companies to teach, and like, who are 50 plus, but who also still make games on the side as people who, like, not full indie but like half indies. So I know a good chunk of former game dev, currently teachers, indie dev. Like, I don't know if that counts, because it doesn't seem like exactly what you're looking for. But like, doing it as kind of a serious hobby while having another full-time job seems to also be a viable route, where, because it removes the pressure that Rami's talking about. Like, you're still going to be able to
Mm-hmm.
pay mortgage and eat and all that, but you'll still get the joy of making of making a
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah, I think I would just add that I see in maybe in bigger companies there's it's a lot more common to run to people who are like 45 and above. I've had a bunch of colleagues that retired, retired, that we worked together, and then that was their last week before they're retiring and going to the sunset. So like, uh, it's a lot more common. And I do know a bunch of people that used to make games. Like, they started off as solo developers back in the 70s,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
and they've like grown with the interest industry, did a bunch of jobs, ran companies and stuff like that, and then they started approaching retirement age, and they were like, you know what, I want to go back to my roots as a solo dev and just do
Mm-hmm.
my thing. And I know a bunch of those people are like making a bunch of interesting things. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
it's
there's on
go ahead,
on
Rami.
on the Middle Eastern side, Shahid Ahmed Kamal is
Mhm.
somebody like, or Shahid Kamal Ahmed is an example of that, and he's been in games for like what 40 plus years, and now he
Oh
went back to
wow.
indie. He was actually Shahid when he was working at PlayStation, was the person who signed Super Crate Box and then Luftrausers.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And
I
then at
Wow.
mean,
some
I knew he was in the industry a long time. I didn't know he was in the industry 40 plus years.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I mean, he started young. He does a really cool thread called "Code is Just," where he sort
Mhm.
of like describes all of the stories from his career, and it's like it's very honest, and it makes for good reading. So I would recommend it. But yeah, he I think he wrote his first game in like the 80s, like early 80s, like 1981 or something, 1982 if I remember correctly.
Mhm.
So he's been here for a while.
One of the founders of Blizzard is half Egyptian, if I remember correctly. Alan Adham.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I had never realized that, but now that you
Me
say his
either.
name, that makes a lot of
yeah,
sense.
yeah. Alan Adham is either half Egyptian or Egyptian American, but yeah, there's Egypt in that guy, and yeah,
There's Egypt in all of us,
he's
Chelsea.
still on the
Don't you,
executive
man?
leadership team of Blizzard. Still, or he's one
Yeah.
of the people that founded the company.
I mean, since I started there, I've heard him speak at least one time. So like, he's still active too. And
Yeah, yeah, no,
yeah,
he's a known personality within the company.
I had no idea that he was Egyptian. I didn't even
I think
click.
so.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
the last
awesome.
name sort of gives a hint, but
Yeah,
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 yeah. It's
it
just
is.
like
Yeah,
you don't. If you sometimes if you squint, if you don't squint, you don't see it, right?
right. Yeah. Well, it's rare enough that you're not looking for it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
So that was a great question. We are like I could have maybe squeezed in another one, but I don't want to because the next one is actually pretty long and very heartfelt, and I think deserves its own time. So I think this is a good time to wrap up and send us more emails. I really love getting emails, and we will read them. I promise. We have a few that we had missed. We'll go back and get them.
Where should people
So
send them, Osama?
oh yeah, that's true. We do have an email address. It's info@thehabibis.com.
Ah, that's
Yes,
easy to remember. Is it
Wow.
info@tahbibis.com?
I
it
think
is
it's info at
info at
thehabibis.com.
thehabibis.com. Did
Yeah.
I say it wrong?
No, you said
No,
it
you said it
correctly.
right. We're just
I'm just
confirming.
saying it
We're just
twice.
confirming.
Good, good, good. Yes. So in my usual messing up the outro,
Oh, here we go.
let's
Bismillah
just
ar-Rahman
skip
ar-Rahim.
to the good part and say salam. And let's put a doily on this episode, and we'll see you all
I don't
next
know.
week.
Was that the outro, or is this you explaining that you're not going to do the outro?
Outros are hard, yo. Just all right. I'm done. Take care, everyone, and see you next week. Salam.
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 That was the Habibis podcast for this week. I'm Osama Dorias, your host for this episode. You can find me on Twitter at Osama Dorias. My fellow Habibis were Rami Ismail, you can find on Twitter at THA_Rami, and Fauzi Mesmar, who you can find on Twitter at Fauzi Mesmar. Send us your questions, stories, suggestions via info@thehabibis.com. Intro and outro music was provided by Malik Zubayla, and the logo was provided by Ibrahim Hamdi. The Habibis is a weekly podcast about 3 game developers drinking good Arab tea, with new episodes launching every Friday, inshallah. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcasting service, or check out thehabibis.com for more information. Thank you for listening, and Assalamu alaikum.
You're still recording, it's saying. No, I'm not. All right.